More than 1,500 accidents at chemical plants have been reported in the United States since 2007, and amendments to the Clean Air Act issued in the last days of former President Barack Obama's administration would have forced plants handling risky chemicals to coordinate emergency plans with local responders. Kelly says those changes would have made his job easier by, for example, obliging plant owners to tell first responders what chemicals were on site. That would help them decide what equipment and training would be needed to help people. President Donald Trump's administration suspended the regulations, placing them in a 2-year review. Trade associations argued the new rules were inconsistent with Trump's pledges to cut regulations and with his executive order issued in January requiring federal agencies to offset each new regulation with 2 deregulatory actions. The full scope of the effects of the 2-for-1 requirement will begin to emerge in late November, when the White House is expected to publish a list of regulations and deregulatory actions each agency has taken under the rule. A few of these measures will have minimal effect, or were planned before Trump took office. But most of the deregulatory actions dismantle rules that took years to develop. Some former agency officials, mostly from the Obama administration, have decried the rollbacks, saying the measures being targeted were aimed at protecting the public against significant health and safety threats. The Plastics Industry Association, representing nearly 1,000 companies, for example, pressed for the removal of the Clean Air Act amendments, arguing that they would force companies to divulge sensitive information, such as improvements made after a plant accident, that would not help mitigate a disaster but could attract the interest of terrorists, said Marie Gargas, the association's senior technical director for regulatory affairs. Sledgehammer: under Trump's 2-for-1 push, the Department of Labor has proposed rolling back a rule protecting workers from beryllium, an industrial metal and known carcinogen. The department said the rollback would save the shipyard and construction sectors about $11 million annually. When the Labor Department under Obama issued the rule in 2015, it said even the legal level of beryllium exposure posed a significant risk of the disease. In proposing to revoke the rule in June, the agency, now under new political leadership, said there was uncertainty over the efficacy of such a measure. Alan Harville, safety chairman of United Steelworkers Local 8888 in Newport News, Virginia, says he believes dozens of his colleagues have suffered from lung diseases associated with beryllium exposure. But blood tests to confirm the link cost hundreds of dollars and are not offered at most hospitals, so few can prove it, he said. Harville said beryllium exposure isn't limited to workers, it leaves the worksite in clouds of blasting dust and the gritty coal slag that sticks to workers' clothes and skin, which risks exposing others. The beryllium case is one example of how the deregulatory push has angered those who want more protections. 2-for-1 is a sledgehammer that could be used to smash progress in areas they don't like, said David Friedman, who helped lead road safety and energy efficiency efforts at the Transportation and Energy Departments during the Obama administration. Public interest groups sued Trump in February over the 2-for-1 deregulatory requirement, arguing it arbitrarily forces agencies to repeal regulations already deemed necessary to protect consumers and workers. Federal attorneys countered that the measure was needed to address outmoded, ineffective, or overly burdensome rules. The rollbacks reflect what experts on both sides of Washington's political divide describe as the biggest deregulatory push by the U.S. government in a generation under Trump, who said during his presidential campaign that 70% of federal agency regulations could be eliminated. Coal rule bites dust in August. The Interior Department rescinded Obama-era regulations that clarified how much oil, gas, and coal companies should pay the federal government in royalties from mineral extraction on federal land. States receive a portion of those royalties. The rule was aimed at stopping the practice of coal companies selling coal at below-market prices to their affiliated companies as a way to reduce royalty payments the companies owed, according to former Interior Department officials who worked on the rule. Rescinding the rule could save industry between $60 million and $75 million annually, according to an economic analysis the department published in August. The National Mining Association, which represents mining companies, said abolishing the rule was consistent with the 2-for-1 requirement. It had argued that disputes over how much coal companies should pay in royalties are increasingly rare, so the Obama-era rule was not needed.